What is up, everybody? Tony Metro here. Welcome to this edition of Mets Weekly. I'm so happy to be joined by some of our other Mets YouTubers. And so I'm going to just let everybody go around and introduce themselves before we get into the pain that is our New York Mets. So let's start off with our special guest, 5 Points Vids.
Hi, I don't have much to say. I'm going to be in a corner crying for the rest of the show, probably. Been a rough, I don't know, when was I on? Like 2 months ago, I think. And we were all happy and high-fiving and doing all this stuff, and we were excited about this season, and it's all turned into a steaming dumpster fire. So, yeah, you guys go ahead and talk about it. I have a YouTube channel called 5 Points Vids, and I'm going to have to need therapy here for what's happening.
Yeah, I think we could get a discount on group therapy for all of us. Mets fan, go ahead, introduce yourself.
All right. Well, I'm a Mets fan. I make some baseball stuff about analytics and all the crazy numbers and everything, some baseball facts, stuff like that. I'm kind of sort of been in kind of a burnout recently with a lot of some stuff, but so I apologize for the lack of streams and videos, but we'll get back to it as soon as we can. But last week I was able to do a video, an interview with Reckless Airwaves Radio talking about the Mets, some analytical analysis. That was pretty fun. It was a blast. So if you want to check that out, by all means. Much needed break for us last week, but we are back and it might get a little heated. Who knows? Let's go Mets. That's all I got to say. Just let's go Mets and don't hurt me again.
Hayden.
What's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Yes, definitely the rages are back. It has not been a fun last couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. It's been very exasperating. But, yeah, Mets Talk with Hayden. Please feel free to check me out. I uploaded a video today in regards to Jacob Degrom, daily to weekly live streams, some series recaps, summaries, news, predictions, all that great stuff. I want to thank Tony for having us on. And, yeah, we're definitely going to have a lot to talk about today with this Mets team. Hell to them.
No doubt about that. And Frank, about the Giants?
What's
going on?
Just playing a trick on everybody. Frank about sports. I made a video this week about the Mets struggles and some possible solutions and suggestions how they could improve. And one major change that they could make that I'm sure we'll get to today. But I was away last week. I'm back this week. So let's go Mets and turn it around quick.
Very nice. Well, you guys know me, Tony Metro. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and I appreciate you guys all joining me on the stream. We definitely have a lot to talk about and a lot to vent, scream, and cry about. By the way, you guys can subscribe to all these guys' channel. The links are in the bio, so be sure to do that. So, tough last couple of weeks. The Mets get ousted out of first place and all the way to third place, had a 6-game losing streak. Fortunately, we're able to snap it yesterday versus the Giants. So things are not looking so good right now. Let me just start by a general idea. What are your guys' main takeaways from the Mets' recent play? What's plaguing them? What do you think they're doing well? 5 points. Why don't you start us off?
I don't know what they're doing well at all. You know, like you examine the last 10 games. We got a nice little series. We swept the Nationals, but the problems have started way before that, right? Like as soon as Baez went down, Lindor's been out. We're getting behind early, and we're not able to come back. And you cannot play from behind every night. It's just simply not a long. It's not a strategy that works. And when your ace who's out there, Strowman, falls behind 3-0, like what do you do? What you just keep turning and looking around for answers. And it's hard to go through this every night where you tune into the Mets game or you're watching it and they're already in a 3-0 to 6-0 hole. It's bad. They need to put up some zeros on the board. They need to get good starting pitching and they need to hit, and I need to drink more. And that's basically the only solutions that I offer. Like what are they doing well? I don't imagine what is going well. Maybe you guys have some better insights on that, but I'm more of a gloom and doom kind of guy, and I'm not seeing much optimism right now. Of course, if they win again tonight, I'll be talking smack on Twitter again, but that's how we are. We're Mets fans. I've been doing this since I was 10 for 34 years, a little bit older than you guys, but this is nothing new. I'll tell you that.
Frank, how you feeling about the Mets?
Yeah, what I don't like is the fact that they're finding different ways to lose, and what's so frustrating is how close so many of the losses are. All of these, one-run losses. You have a game against the Dodgers where you're like, oh, we scored 5 runs, we finally got some offense, but you lose 6-5. Then you lose a game 2-1. So it's like, and then the Mets have the game against the Giants, the Strowman game, where the Mets give you some runs, but then the bullpen is awful. So it's like they're finding different ways to lose, and when a winning teams find different ways to win. But this losing team is finding different ways to lose, whether it's the hitting, the pitching, the manager, the speed on the bases, the base running decisions, like all those different ways to lose. It leads to a team that's just now finally back at 500, whereas, they had that first place lead 4 games for months, and now, you're 4 out.
Hayden, what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. Sadly, I had to attend a couple of these games down here in Miami, and what I saw out of this Mets offense was really a joke. Kind of like Frank stated before, is a lot of it comes down to our offense. The Giants and Dodgers game was extremely troubling. You're seeing this team get offense when the other team is blowing up, 7 runs, 8 runs, and we'll get a run or 2 behind. But when it's a small nothing game, we struggle. I mean, there's one positive take from this is, we're not getting blown out crazy. With regardless of that 10-digit difference from the Mets and Dodgers game, a lot of ththese games have been very close, 1-2, 5-7, 6-3. So it's not like we're getting completely blown out. The runners in scoring position has been a completely different issue. Looking at the past Dodgers series, we saw a lot from the front office and what's changed. We know Luis Rojas stated that the Mets and Dodgers series was going to be the most important series of the season. And what does he do? He has Albert Almora Jr., Brandon Drury, who I love his bat, but I mean, let's be realistic. I would rather a McNeil, and then Kevin Pillar in that lineup, and that's a winning lineup to him. So I find that very, very unfortunate that this is the route we're going, and he claims it's over this lefty-righty shenanigans that we all know about. So it's very unfortunate, and we really only have 2 guys carrying the team, Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso. Otherwise, everyone else has just been slumping, and I feel a lot of our run creation is sack flies, fielder's choices, errors, and that's really it. Yesterday I was glad in the 12th inning to get back-to-back runners home from runners in scoring position. It was a dream to see. I asked, is this real life? So hopefully the Mets could change. Hopefully what we saw in the 12th inning of yesterday's game is what we could see throughout the weekend and days to weeks following. Dodgers, they're not an easy team. And we got swept by them, and we're having another 4-game series against them. So, if the Mets want to show something, if they want to show they can compete against the Dodgers, well, you're going to have to take 2 out of 4 at least to be at 500.
Well, if they take 2 out of 4, I hope it will be the 2 games that I will be in attendance for, because I really don't want to walk out of the parking lot after a Mets loss at Dodger Stadium. Mets fan, what are you taking away from the last 2 weeks since we last spoke? What's going on?
Oh my God. I mean, it's just watching this team has just become a chore. I mean, and this is not like one of those fun ones like walking the dog. It's kind of just like, cleaning a gas station toilet. There's just really never a day of peace with this team. You never can get one. They have fallen so far into such, in just such little time. And I can't believe I can't even fully react to how bad this stretch has been. And whoever made this 13-game stretch of opponents for us, I hate you, and I hope you step on a Lego.
All right. Well, to be fair, no one expected the San Francisco Giants to be the first-place team they are. So, I mean, looking at the schedule at the beginning of the year, I think many of us would have thought, oh, that's an easy soft spot right there. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and this has become a gauntlet. I have nothing more to say than you already said. The runners in scoring position and the execution on the small things has not been there. And to be honest, it hasn't been there all year. This is not a new trend. They were getting away with it earlier in the year. So this could be something that goes right to the core of this roster that needs to be changed going into next year, which leads me into my next point. Steve Cohen, Mets owner, not very happy with how the team has been performing, made it publicly known with his tweet. Could there be some big changes on the horizon next year? We don't know. But what was your initial reaction to Steve Cohen's tweet yesterday, Frank?
I was like, oh, so he is paying attention to what's going on, because at the trade deadline when we were talking about, oh, you got to take all Javi Baez's money. Oh, you can't get Kenta Maeda because the money. It's like, oh, do we still have the Wilpons? Where is Steve Cohen? When is he going to say something? He was, lauding the team when they were winning. He was always saying, oh, look at us now, all these positive tweets. But whenever they lost, he didn't say anything. He was very quiet. I'm like, how come he doesn't talk now? And then just all of a sudden, out of the blue, at 9:09 in the morning, he's just like, this is unacceptable. I just woke up. I was like, whoa, where did this come from? All of a sudden, Steve Cohen just flat out calling out his players, which we know that now players have become so soft. It is such a players' league that anytime you criticize his players, whether it's a manager or the front office, it's a huge deal. But for the owner to come out publicly, say something about the performance of the team being unproductive, and just like no owners do that in any of sports. Owners in general don't tweet like the way Steve Cohen does in any sport. So something like this is unprecedented, and I feel that Steve Cohen is showing me that he does not like losing, and that this is unacceptable for him. So he's trying something out. He says, you know what? It all has to do with approach. And that's what he said in the tweet. He said the approach is what he doesn't like, being undisciplined. He goes, let me try to get these guys going and show them that, listen, there is pressure. If you don't figure it out, if you do not get a better approach, you will be gone. And he will make some major changes. So I like that he's trying to, be proactive and say, listen, I'm not going to give up on this season. Even though we're in a bad stretch right now, we've lost, 5 games in a row at the time, and we're under 500. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to try to get these guys going and just do something, because you're not going to get another player. Trade deadline's over. So I think Steve Cohen is trying to take matters into his own hands, and we'll see if it works. First game, it took a while for the offense to get going, but you hope that they can just continue that.
5 points. Your initial reaction to Steve Cohen's tweet yesterday?
We've all had jobs, excuse me. And the last thing you want to do as a job is have your boss right behind you. And he went into the locker room, and, I know what his intent was when he went into the locker room. He wanted to fire the guys up. He wanted to say, all right, this is a guy that you're playing for. I'm a likable guy. I'm Steve Cohen. I put a lot of money into this team. I care about you guys, etc. But at the same time, the relationship as an employee, what your relationship with your boss is, and that anytime when you're employed by someone, they can fire you for any reason, and your butt is out of there. And anytime that the owner puts out publicly that he's putting pressure on the team, which is what I'm translating from this text, right? Or this tweet is basically saying, you guys need to get your act together, was the message in that tweet. And if you're a ball player, yeah, you're going to try to ignore that. You're not thinking about that when you're up at the plate. But then when you come off the field, you start thinking about things like that. Then when you're in the locker room, you're like, oh, is Steve going to show up today? And what have we done wrong today? It's hard enough to try to hit a major league fastball. It's even harder when you know that your boss is watching from way up high, the guy that controls your future. And I understand his intent. He's a passionate owner. We've been waiting for this guy, honestly, for a long time. We've been waiting for an owner like Steve Cohen to give a crap about this team and to put the resources into this team that we like. But at the same time, the same thing that we love about him is also going to be some of the things that we don't like about him. I'm not saying that I'm angry that he tweeted it or that it was necessarily the wrong thing. But you as a player, the players don't necessarily want to see that kind of stuff on them. They're already losing. And now your boss is coming in and saying, hey, you guys need to get your crap together. Completely accurate, by the way, with the tweet. The approach is terrible at the plate. He's just saying what we're all thinking. But a lot of times it's just good if you're the man in charge. Like I've had a career where I was the big boss, and I never realized how every little thing that I said had ramifications and impacted people's psyche. Like I didn't figure that out until much later. And this is something, Steve Cohen's run $1 billion hedge fund. I'm not here to criticize him, but I know as someone that's on the other side, the employee is like, oh, dude, no one works well when their boss is or they might appear to be working well, but inside they're just like, can this guy please leave? So that's, I don't mind it, but at the same time, I'm like, a little cringe right there. A little cringe.
Absolutely. Mets fan.
Oh, I mean, I would be all over this guy right now on Twitter all the time, but if he wasn't 100% right. I mean, I think we're all forgetting that Cohen is also a fan of this team. And it's nice to see that he's in the same boat as us right now. He's frustrated as well. Listen, our GM, Zach Scott, called them freaking lazy sacks of shit, and then they freaking swept the Nationals. So Cohen calls them underperformers. They win right after that. So now I guess it's Sandy's turn to maybe threaten to leak these guys' Google search history or something. Because, I mean, just if you have something that you need to, you need to get this team going, have at it at this point. As most of you guys, probably everybody right now, I do want Cohen to delete Twitter before he gets tracked down and killed. But that obviously won't happen. As far as I'm concerned, as to what the result carried over, it was the tweet heard around the world. Well done, Uncle Steve, for speaking up, because the fans can't be doing it 24/7.
Hayden, what did you think about Steve Cohen's tweet? Were you in favor of it, or did it kind of rub you the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, we all know how I feel about Steve Cohen's Twitter, and I'll say that was probably the one tweet that I actually kind of thought was very interesting. He talked about, the team's offensive production, and, I think it was really something that needed to be done because, I mean, no one really in this Mets team was firing each other up. Luis Rojas couldn't fire these guys up. If he got tossed out and got into a physical altercation with the umpire, that wouldn't fire them up. You could have fans run on the field. You could have 3 of your players get into a fight. Nothing would fire this team up. And it came to a point is, what are you going to do? And like everyone said, the big guy has to go down there and curse at them, say anything that needs to get through their head. Listen, they're going to get nervous. I understand that. But it comes to a point is where, we're looking at a team where they were not looking good. I mean, we've seen slumps of teams. We've seen the Pirates. We've seen the Diamondbacks. We've seen the Orioles. We've seen the Tigers. But this team was just on a whole other level where they just – they went from first place, and then you dropped to third place in a matter of a week and a half. So I think it was something that Cohen really needed to press on. I think Cohen, and, in terms of his Twitter, I do agree. I'm not super fond of his Twitter. Personally, I feel, should be other ways. We'll leave it short and simple like that. I overall think it was something that needed to be heard. But there's so many issues with this front office itself. I mean, Sandy Alderson wasn't doing much. Zach Scott, who personally I think is done after the season. He's the acting guy. I don't think Sandy trusts him super much. I think he'll be gone. So I think Steve Cohen, I think he's trying to get these guys really, fired up. And it's something that needed to be done because no one else was doing it.
I'll say I kind of fall in between all of you guys. I don't love the idea that our owner kind of tweets, just at any time that he wants. And sometimes they come off the wrong way. At the same time, I kind of am with you 5 points where, you don't want your boss breathing down your neck, looking at every piece of work you hand in. And that's not always the best culture to create. And in addition, baseball it can be an effort sport, but not as much as basketball and football or hockey, where it's like speed and, really giving that effort to get to the ball or to the puck. Baseball, I mean, hitting a baseball is so hard already. Tweeting something about the production, the OPS slugging isn't going to get your guys going and say, hey, you know what? We should all start hitting, guys. We should all start hitting. What were we thinking? It's just a totally different sport. So I'm half and half on how it goes. We'll just see what comes next from Cohen with his Twitter and how he responds to the team's struggles. And speaking of that, should Luis Rojas's job be in jeopardy? Should he be worried about Steve Cohen's tweet and about his thoughts on how the team's been playing? Let's start with Mets fan.
I mean, I've gone back and forth on this guy so many times because I can never figure out his angle. But I really can't take it anymore. I've had enough. This team in 2019, this is a team that fed off of so much high energy, and he has just turned them into lifeless, half-ass, soul-sucking zombies. I mean, I said it before. I don't agree with his managing style, but now it's become a style that's become toxic for this team. Yelling at a few umpires, getting ejected a few times. I mean, it really means absolutely nothing because he continues to have these little fuses of energy for a few seconds, and then he goes back to his hibernation. Luis Rojas, he's just what he's presented to be. He's really just a robot. He's not a leader. He's a follower. And he just doesn't have any instinct whatsoever. He's just not right for this team at all.
Hayden, what do you think about Rojas? You think his job should be in jeopardy?
Yeah, I mean, like Mets fans summed it up. I mean, we all really had ambivalent thoughts about Luis Rojas coming into the season. Personally, I labeled it dozens of times as the honeymoon phase. 2020, you couldn't judge him off of that. And, pretty much really his only somewhat good moments are arguing with umpires over, the strike zone. We know he gets very tough on umpires. He's been ejected 5 times so far this year for, getting very, iffy with the umpires and arguing. But overall, that's really all he does. I mean, in terms of standing up for his players, he's still working his way there. But like we said, he could fire himself up over a fight, an argument, a terrible call. But he can't fire Pete Alonso up. He can't fire Jeff McNeil up. He can't fire Marcus Strowman up. So, what's the point of the manager if he's not going to fire them up? We've seen some of these moves he's made, obviously, with the pitching and bullpen. We saw the most common one was with Will Smith a couple days ago in terms of the on-base percentage versus a left-handed versus a right-handed pitcher. That was a big thing that was explained. We know how he is with this lefty-righty shenanigans. And simply enough, he's not a Steve Cohen guy. So it comes down to, if, and I'm going to say if, and fingers crossed, Zach Scott and Stanley Alderson leave this offseason, well, they're going to bring in another guy, 2 other guys for the president of operations and general management. So are they going to want Luis Rojas? Probably not. They're probably going to want to bring in one of their own guys, and that makes sense. I mean, there's guys out there, whether it's Carlos Beltran or whether it's someone that we couldn't even be thinking of. I'm down to it. Overall, Luis Rojas, he's not really meeting my expectations. You see how this ball club is playing. I mean, if anything, let him try to be the hitting coach. He doesn't do that. We watch his press conferences. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You don't know? Really? Then why are you the manager of a ball club when your answers are, I don't know? I watch his press conferences. He just sounds like he is just boring personality. I just, honestly, I take David Jouse as the manager for the rest of the season. If, just Ross, he's too plain. Nothing concerning. A lot concerned with Rojas. We'll just say that. 5
points. How hot do you think the seat is on Luis Rojas right now?
Every manager in New York, their seat is always hot. It doesn't matter if Terry Collins took this team to a World Series and was done 2 years later. You don't buy much credit. Remember, people were talking about Luis Rojas as manager of the year earlier when we were 10 games over 500. And that talk has quickly shut up. The one big problem that he has now is that these Braves have come out of nowhere and they've done what the Mets should be doing with an injured to shit roster and most of their key pieces out. They are now in command of this division. So whatever their manager is doing, he's doing it right. Whatever Luis Rojas is doing wrong. And in New York, I don't care what you say. It's all about results. And this team is not getting results. And it really doesn't matter what Luis Rojas does, whether it's his personality that's not meshing with these guys or whether they love him in the clubhouse, whether he's the greatest guy or not. He's the guy pulling the levers and he's the guy who's responsible for that win-loss tally in the standings. And if we don't get it done, his ass is out. There's no credit here. There's no equity that's been earned by Luis Rojas in any way. And we're not in a position to be giving guys 3, 4, 5. He's not a big name that we brought in that commands 5 years or even 3 years of his time, right? Like, and it hurts to say this, like a guy, you bring in Tony La Russa, somebody like that. Yeah. You give him of course he's already getting results in Chicago by basically just shutting up and being out of the way and just doing Tony La Russa things. But the manager, we just forget how important the manager is. Okay. He's not just a guy that delegates and just says, hey, you're the hitting coach. Hey, you're the pitching coach. He knows baseball and he's supposed to be there directing the pitching coach, directing the hitting coach. It's like, this is what I see. I'm the manager. I want you guys working on that. And sometimes it's up for that guy to go in and work with a player, pull them to the side and be like, Pete, you need to produce. Okay. Like, you need to step up. You're the guy. Like, of course, we're not privy to all these conversations, but that's what a manager does, and that's how you get results. And unfortunately, the results aren't there. Now, if they, like you guys have echoed, if they get it together and they somehow win this division, okay, like, that's a tall ask right now. We're talking, we're late August. It's not mid-August. It's not mid-July. We are late August here, but I just don't see him coming back. And with all the turmoil and all the changes, yeah, it's time. Enough time has passed since the Astros BS that we could bring in Beltran and no one would bat an eye. Like, I just don't think that anyone would say crap. It'd be like, all right, Terry Francona's back or whatever. Who else is back managing that? Cora. Cora's back. All those guys are AJ Hinch. They've done their time. No one seems to care because other teams cheated too. Beltran will be the manager next year. How about that?
Hot take. Okay.
Hot take.
Frank, what are you thinking about Luis Rojas?
Here we go.
I was skeptical of him going into the year, and I really try to give him a chance as much as I can. Give him a big enough sample size, give him enough games, and value enough decisions. But bad enough his decision making, whether it's like we talk about the righty lefty stuff or the line construction and bullpen management. But what set me over on Rojas, what got me, just completely off the ship, was that decision with Marcus Strowman. Bases loaded, nobody out, leaving the bat in the shoulders, strike on purpose because we're afraid of hitting a double play, and Brandon Nimmo hits a double play anyway. And he's continued to show that same mentality against the Dodgers, big spot, late in the game. Tomas Neal, couple runners on, but last night, Patrick Mazeika, but this guy, this is what this team does. You have Villar at first base. Oh, don't steal the base. Just get picked off instead. Oh, you have a guy that's about to score on third base. No, don't score. Leave him there. This conservative, scared mentality all the time across the board, whether it's with the way they're hitting or running, just the way they play. I don't like that attitude of like, no, we don't want to take a chance. We don't want to be aggressive because this, scared mentality, not trying to overdo it, it's led to where they are right now. When you're a team that's struggling like the way they have, you got to be willing to take some chances. You got to do, an extra risk just to try to make something different happen, make another team uncomfortable. And as far as strategy-wise, when you have a shift on, don't pitch away from the shift so the hitter can just take the ball the other way. Pitch towards the shift. And when you talk about a 5-point vid, putting a player to the side, when you look at these guys offensively, so many of these guys have obvious just like loopholes in their approach and that teams are exploiting. When you see Jonathan Villar struggles with the high pitch or James McCann struggles with the outside pitch, or all these different guys just have like these one areas that they keep swinging at that teams are exploiting, and you don't take them to the side and say, listen, Villar, lay off the high pitch. McCann, take until a strike, take until 2 strikes, just to change the team's scouting report. Like, these are just the little adjustments you could do throughout the course of the season and just see what happens. But the fact that he does the same stuff constantly and is not willing to change and just think that it's magically going to get better. And then this team, this is not a bad team of players for why their offense is so bad. Like, when you look at this roster, you should not say, oh, this is going to be the team that's going to be lowest in runs per game. And it's all about the mentality they have with runners on base. Rojas said earlier in the year, these guys have anxiety when runners are on. It is your job to get rid of that anxiety as the manager. Give them the right message to overcome that, because these guys get on base. They're not bad players. But once they get there, they just shut down. They panic. So Rojas has got to do something. And you know what? The other thing that drove me nuts, you posted the video, Mets fan, the group chat, when VR gets picked off, just making a boneheaded play, Rojas is smiling. Like, mediocrity, terrible baseball, it doesn't seem to faze him. Like, when this team plays unacceptable, what does he say in the clubhouse? He's probably just like, all right, we'll go to the next one. He doesn't hold anybody accountable. He doesn't get on anyone for poor performance. So stuff like that is just unacceptable, and it's not working. He wasn't a Sandy guy, and we know Sandy loves his guys. They didn't pick up his team option, so I know he's going to be gone, but these are just the reasons why he should be gone.
I gotta go, but I love that rant, by the way, Frank. Everything was fun. Like, if this was around the horn, you'd be getting all the you'd be getting all the points. Listen, if Lindor and Baez and Degrom are healthy, this is the first place team. Okay, and even Luis Rojas could not mess that up. I just want to say that. But this is the world we live in. This is the luck that we have. It's 2021, and That's how it is. We just need Baez and Lindor to come back. Maybe Noah comes and pitches the last month of the season. Degrom probably going to get shut down, which is probably one of scary stuff. But thanks, guys, for having me on. Let's go, Matt. LFGM to the day that I die. We're going to be critical. That's because we love this team. Okay. We love it with all our hearts. You argue with your parents, you argue with your girlfriends and wives and all that stuff. It's because you love them. Okay. And we love this team. But gosh, they're making it hard. Gosh. All right.
Yeah, they always do. Well, we appreciate you joining. Thank you, 5 Point Vids. And everyone be sure to go subscribe to his channel.
Take it easy.
Right.
Real quick, just to finish out the thoughts on Luis Rojas, I'm curious about how much is in his control, how much decision-making in game is actually up to him, and what's getting handed down from the front office. Like, that's the biggest thing in baseball now. We don't know how much each manager has in their control. It seems like they're kind of puppets being pulled by strings from the front office, from the analytics department. But there's no doubt Luis Rojas has made some unbelievably head-scratching decisions, like letting Carlos Carrasco bat the other night before getting pulled. Not to mention his personality. We all know, we've all had bosses, we've all had leaders. People take on the personality of their boss, of their coach, of their leader, and this guy's just shown to be too passive for my liking. I want someone in there that's going to be able to fire them up and get them going, and so far, Louis not been able to show that. Let's move on to the next topic. 5 Points actually walked us right into it, and that is, will our ace, the best pitcher in baseball, come back and pitch in 2021? It was announced yesterday that the Mets are leaning towards shutting him down for the rest of the season, which in my opinion would all but end the Mets season. Hayden, what do you think? Will Degrom pitch again this year?
Yeah, I actually uploaded a video on this before, and pretty much my results were, I think it's honestly the best thing to let him out. Obviously, I stated in my video that, the Mets are pretty much a sub 500 team at the moment. And we're kind of getting at the end of the season. And I really think throughout most of the season with Degrom, once we got a quarter in, that's really when Degrom started to just get stopped, and just with so many injuries, the oblique, the forearm, the shoulder, he just had a debacle of things going on. And, and it just comes to him being so good. The velocity increased, the age, he's throwing harder. So he's hurting himself by how well he's playing. Honestly, I think at this rate, it's probably the best thing for him. If the Mets aren't going to compete, why really risk him going out there? I don't want him to stop pitching. I mean, I would have no problem if he, goes to his centers and, does it on his free time, because, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, that's the only reason a lot of pitchers are getting hurt, like Degrom, is because they didn't have a lot of pitching time last year. Well, and that's a good point. But now if you give Degrom less pitching time this year, won't that carry it into 2022? So I don't know. It's very complex on how you want to approach this, especially with Degrom. People were talking about, oh, do you think they're lying about Degrom? I don't think they are. I mean, I think if Degrom had an issue, we know Degrom, he would go up to that New York media and destroy everyone right, at the booth. So, I mean, I trust Degrom. I mean, whatever he thinks the best choice for him is, obviously he's going to want to go out there and pitch. But then on the other hand, he's going to want to carry the safe way, because we don't want to have to hear anything with an ACL or, especially elbow. That's what you don't like to hear. And we don't want that to make it even worse into 2022 and even 2023. So whatever can keep Degrom the healthiest for when we are competing. If in some miracle we do start to compete this year, maybe in September, we'll talk about it then. But I think 5 Point videos stated, hopefully Noah Syndergaard coming back could be something. Hopefully Carrasco could maybe start to pick up some stuff and really kind of clean up what Degrom isn't here for. But overall, I know I ranted off a little bit, but my answer to that is, at this current time, I would leave Degrom out, but still let him carry, typical, practice and stuff. It is centers and on his free time. I still want him to get into the routine of pitching.
Frank, what do you think? Will we see Jacob Degrom again in 2021?
I don't think we will. And what's concerning to me is we don't really know how or why. And I think the fact that the diagnosis continues to be right elbow inflammation. But every time Degrom tries to throw, they try to, start to work him back. Boom, he has to get shut down. And that's how it felt this entire season. Whether it was swinging the bat or pitching in general, this guy in the second inning has to come out early. Third inning has to come out early. It's an injury. This happened all year long. And my thing is that, okay, if you shut down Jacob Degrom for the rest of the year, whatever. is he going to be okay for next year? Like, what is actually wrong with him? Is this inflammation going to go away? I mean, how much rest is required? Is there something else that needs to be done, any kind of procedure or something like that? Because I just want this guy to be healthy long term and not have where, even if he does pitch opening day, is he going to get hurt again? Like, I just want to know what is this cause of inflammation, because you hear all the time with pitchers, inflammation, and then it goes away and then they get back to the mound. But with Degrom, it's been the same diagnosis, and the way they are so hush-hush about it, like they were with Kumar Rocker, really concerns me that there's like something else going on with Jake that we just don't know. And that is why, and the fact that we're shutting him down, that's all speculation. They won't come out and say it. So there's just like something very weird about the way they've handled the whole situation that I really don't like and really worries me, because we know how important this guy is. And it's so disappointing because up until his injuries, he was off to such a historic season and was on pace to have maybe the greatest season ever for a pitcher as far as pitching, not hitting, because Ohtani. But it was just like so exciting to watch him. Even when the Mets were out of it in 18, seeing him win the Cy Young, he always gives you something to look forward to, even in the losing season. So it's just all around a really sad outcome for such a good guy, such a good pitcher. And with his opt-out, I mean, how does this affect that, this whole injury situation? What does that do to his value? Is he not going to opt out now? Because now you're talking about that long-term investment into a guy who, you know what, the velocity is good, the amount of innings he's pitched is good, but the age is not so good. So I think that just the long-term outlook of Degrom is what I'm more concerned. Whatever happens in 2021, it's whatever. This team playing like crap right now. I need Jake healthy for the long term, because he's going to be here multiple years. So that's what matters to me.
Before I get to you, Mets fan, I want to touch on something you brought up, Frank, and that was about how the Mets are not really releasing what they might know already, or their decision on Degrom, if they're going to shut him down. And I'm just kind of thinking, it sparked in my brain, maybe it's kind of a morale thing. If they announce that Degrom is shut down, that this whole team will kind of shut down and be like, well, Degrom's not coming back. We're not, there's no way. I mean, you know, we know we're all good, but I mean, we need that guy. So I'm thinking that's a possibility. I'll just say I don't think he's coming back this year. I don't think we will see him pitch in 2021. Mets fan, what do you think? Will we see Jake the GOAT pitch again this year?
All right. Well, before I get into it, if you want to share my screen for a second, lineup is out for tonight.
Oh, let's see.
You got
put Alonso.
So you got Alonso in the 3-hole there. What is this? Righty against a righty. So you got
about the best
lefty.
they could do.
Oh, Dodgers bullpen game.
Corey Knebel.
Yeah,
Are we putting McCann on the IL, or are we just going to let him like float around?
Just waste a roster spot and send Yency Diaz down. I mean, that was another brilliant decision.
Yeah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful, well, unbelievable.
It could be available on the bench.
So is Chance Sisco. Chance Sisco was clutch. I mean, we don't.
Yeah, man.
Right now.
Yeah, facts.
All-star catcher.
Yency Diaz goes down.
Unreal. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Anyway, Jacob Degrom, pushed back 2 weeks, most likely going to get shut down. To be irrational for a second, this isn't fair. This isn't fucking fair, man. The fact that we are losing the best pitcher in baseball is just icing on the cake of how this season has gone. I think we all saw it coming. This guy has had 6 different freaking injuries for half of a season. It just sucks because he was on pace for history. And it's an honor to watch him play every 5 days. I mean, I say this all the time. This team has great pitching, but when you take Degrom out of the rotation, it suffers. And you're seeing that happen right now. At the end of the day, I think it was a smart decision. Let him get to 100% for spring training next year. Let him be healthy. We need him healthy long term, as Frank said multiple times. I mean, get better soon, Jake. That's all I ask. We miss you, man. But it sucks, but it's whatever. I don't see him coming back at this point. I would just be smart about this at this point.
You know, it's just unfortunate. It's kind of been a collision course of a bunch of really small events that have come together and made surviving Degrom's injury very difficult. Of course, we knew Syndergaard was going on the DL to start the year. Best case scenario, July. Well, he has a setback. We lost Peterson. We lost Yamamoto. Obviously, Carlos Carrasco didn't make his first start. We lost Luke Casey. So, unfortunately, it's just been a shit storm of a bunch of little different things happening and messing it up for us. But for the sake of Jacob Degrom and his future and the Mets' future, I think you got to be as careful as possible, as cautious as possible. And if he's not ready to pitch at 100% right now, you do not let him throw another pitch this season in a regular game. Let's move on. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of positive for us to talk about, guys. So all these things are kind of negative right now.
Perfect hour.
The question has come up quite a bit lately about this Mets core. And I'm talking about Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Dom Smith, Michael Conforto. Have these guys shown enough that they can stay together? They have been front and center at the Mets' struggles with runners in scoring position. They booted the ball around the field. They've made errors. They've made mental errors. What do you guys think? Does this core have enough to stay together and show they can win, or should there be some major changes going into next season? Frank?
Yeah, this is a really good question, and it's so tough because there's something about the homegrown player that as the fan, you feel like such a love for them no matter what. Even when they struggle, and like when you lose one of them, like Jimenez or someone like that, it's always pain. Like Wilmer Flores, like I still love him to this day. When I saw him get the hit, it was just pain, you know? So
why'd you have to do that, Frank?
I'm sorry, but it's just an example. Anytime for the homegrown guy, you don't want to get rid of him. You don't want to shake up the core. I mean, remember the trade deadline? Oh, we can't trade anybody. The chemistry. At least we have good chemistry, you know, that kind of stuff. But I think it's gotten to the point now where some of these guys, and the guy that I'm looking at the most is Dom Smith, unfortunately. I love Dom as a player, the chemistry. He's improved in left field and all that. But I just don't think he does anything well enough to the point where it's like we need to pay Dom a lot of money to make sure he's a starter every single day. I mean, it's not his glove. It's not his bat. His bat has not been that great this year. It's been very inconsistent. Like, he had a few good games, but when you look at his numbers, whether it's his regular numbers or numbers with runs in scoring position, it's not that good. Like, I thought he was good with runners scoring position, but he's not the best guy on the team. So, and his numbers, again, just like aren't great. So I think that when you look at the long-term fit, like, could he be upgraded from? I think so. I think there probably are some better left fielders, or maybe if you move Nimmo to left field, better DHs you could get than Dom Smith. I would love to keep him on the bench as a bench player, just to keep the chemistry, to keep him on the team. He's so supportive. When he had his injury, he's still, like, rallying the team up. But I just think that on a daily basis, he's not someone I really like have to have in the lineup. And then with Jeff McNeil, I'm very torn on him because he's my favorite player and he struggled. Then he got crazy hot, but now he's crazy cold, which is not normal Jeff McNeil. Usually he stays at a pretty good clip the whole year, not too crazy hot, not too crazy cold. So he's someone that is worrying me because this year he's been really, really bad with runners in scoring position, one of the worst on the team. So I got to look at that. And I think that as far as the core, the two guys I trust right now are Alonso and Nimmo. Other than that, everybody else has been so all over the place. To go back to Dom, last year, we hit over 300. Same with Conforto, like, oh, wow, these guys really put together a good batting average. But then the following year has not been the same. So I think that it's gotten to the point now where we've given them so many chances and we say, oh, our lineup is good. We just need to work on these other areas. But when we look at what's cost them right now, it is the lineup. So maybe just getting some new blood in there, whoever it is, it might just help spark them a little bit. Because I don't know, if Rojas says these guys have anxiety, these are younger players. So if you had to bring in a vet, a guy that's a little more experienced, just like knows what he's doing up there, has an actual approach, not like Villar or Baez, I think that'd be something this team could really benefit from.
Mets fan, what do you think? Is this Mets core shown enough? Or do you, if you're Sandy Alderson or whoever the general manager is next year, are you making big changes?
I mean, given the control years you have, I wouldn't be so eager to break it up. But let's be real here. This team has had a tendency to underperform a lot. If something isn't working, you might have to make a change. I was talking about this with Tony the other day, and he asked me, pick 3 guys from this core that you would keep. Obviously, Lindor is one of those given. He's going to be here for 10 years. So you can't really, yeah. But as of right now, it seems like Alonso and Nimmo are like the only consistent pieces of production all season. And I'm not saying say goodbye to McNeil and Conforto. They probably would be one of the fence guys at this moment. I basically broke this one up into tiers. Tier 1, the cornerstone hitters right now: Lindor, Alonso, and McNeil. Or Nimmo, excuse me. And then you have Tier 2, which is your proven fence guys, who have been proven hitters, but they've been up and down this year, which is McNeil and Conforto, even though I know that both can be in that Cornerstone tier. We know that they can be. And then you have tier 3, the replaceable hitters, Dom Smith, JD Davis, etc. So, take that as you will. But that's basically where I'm at future-wise with this offense. Now, we know the Mets have expressed that they don't want to split the core up, which is fine. But the question is, can we upgrade it? We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. There's going to be a lot of tough questions to answer this offseason.
And before I get to you
right now.
Before I go to you, Hayden, I think that's kind of what the Mets were thinking when they acquired Javi Baez. I know he's a free agent after this year, but looking at the Dodgers model, which we always talk about, they have a ton of starting talent on their team that doesn't start every day, that are on the bench, but come in later in the game, play multiple positions. I could see that being the case, keeping Jeff McNeil, keeping most of this core, but adding to it, maybe reducing the role that some of these guys are in. One thing to be aware of, some of these guys kind of have given us these big flashes, but in very small sample sizes. I don't know if any of you guys realize this. I was just looking at his baseball reference. This is the first time Dom Smith has played over 100 games in the major leagues. So I know he in 2017 was a call-up. 2018 went up and down. 2019, he was hurt. Last year, obviously, COVID season. This is the first time he's played in 100 games at the MLB level. So, I'm a little concerned that maybe we all got a little too caught up with small sample sizes with some of these guys, and they're good players, but they're not stalwarts on the team. So with that, Hayden, let me hear your thoughts. What do you think? Is this core good enough to keep going forward? Are they capable of winning a World Series, or would you potentially trade some of these guys away and break it up?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone kind of stole what I was going to say, but pretty much I'll just add on to it. We all know how important chemistry is. Obviously, we don't want to have a relationship between the players, the managers, everything where, you don't have good emotions, obviously. That'll cause too much anxiety, and just overall, it'll make the performance for a team very complex and very hard. But, when it comes to a point is where I don't really care about the chemistry anymore. We've seen this team, and it's tough because, and this is a great question, and I think it's, we've seen 90% of this team together in 2019, and we saw how well they thrived. We saw McNeil, Alonso, half of Dom Smith, Michael Conforto, Brandon Nimmo. We saw these guys mix together. And now they just really can't click. And I just don't know really what it is exactly. Like everyone said, we love the homegrown guys. Wilmer Flores, he was in the Mets system since he was like 16, 17. Michael Conforto, he's been one of our longest players offensively on this team. He's played in the World Series with us. Pete Alonso, Pete Alonso's staying, no doubt. Pretty much I'll agree with you guys. I think my only 3 solid guys, I think, on this team that would stay are Alonso, Nimmo, and we'll exclude Lindor because he's in. So Alonso, Nimmo, and I'm probably going to go McNeil just because, we've seen what he can do, McNeil. So those are the only 3 guys. Obviously, Frank pretty much spot on what I said. Dom Smith, JD Davis, those are the 2 guys I'm not really too troubling with. Yeah, I like your Davis in the chemistry, but, then go be a cheerleader on the dugout then. I know the Astros have that. Do that.
I think what it comes down to, it's not so much like next year, but like a couple years going forward, like when Dom's a free agent or JD's a free agent. Let's say for whatever reason a team offers Dom or JD a crazy amount of money. Are you going to match that or top that to keep them? Like, I would love to keep them, again, like as bench players, but I don't think they're guys that, especially if the luxury tax gets lowered, I want to break the bank to keep. I just don't think they're like that caliber of players. I think that's what it comes down to as far as like long-term fit.
Can we address the James McCann situation we're getting from Rojas right now? I just sent this to the Mets are more optimistic, in quotes, than they previously were about keeping James McCann, back spasms, off of the IL per Luis Rojas. It's conceivable that McCann should be available off the bench as soon as today.
That's why they were put him on the IL. You're going to give him a bench spot.
They were in a rush to put Nitto on the IL, and he's like, fine now. It's just
listen, I have no spot to defend McCann at all, but like, what the hell? Like, can you update us on something? Like, what the hell is going on? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. That's it. Yeah. Like, what? Seriously?
Well, I will say one thing. I'd rather see James McCann in a big pinch hitting situation than Chance Sisco. I mean, I know he had a hit yesterday. I know he had a hit yesterday, but I mean, come on. Let's be real. Let's be real about this. Come on.
Chance Sisco's the greatest of all time, though.
It is a really, really weird way. The Mets are definitely just mishandling the roster management's been very questionable all year long.
That's been terrible, yeah.
Just to go back to the core conversation real quick to put a bow on it. You said, Hayden, that we saw 90% of this roster in 2019 play well together. Well, what happened? We didn't make the playoffs. And what did we all say? We were like, well, Mickey Callaway probably alone cost us 10 games, right? And Edwin Diaz, of course, had a terrible season that year. Well, what's happening this year? Luis Rojas, I think everyone's kind of mixed. For the most part, I think it's negative right now because we're not playing well. And Edwin Diaz is pitching well. So my whole point is, yes, it's almost the same roster as 2019. And what happened both of those years? They underachieved. And that's not even including last year where they were terrible. So
underachieved also. They were not as good as they should have been.
Absolutely. There might be a fundamental flaw with this core as it's currently comprised. And 3 years, I mean, that's evidence right there. I mean, that's a trend. That's not just an asterisk.
You can just see the impact, the loss of Wilson Ramos right now. I mean, just look at it right now. I mean, this is just terrible. I mean, you invested $40 million into this catcher, but you just lost a generational talent in Wilson Ramos. I mean, this is awful.
Hey, I was done with Ramos after last year, but 2019 he was fine. 21 home runs. I mean, he was fine. He could hit.
So
he could hit. It's terrible. It's terrible defensively. We know that. But so is James McCann, and he doesn't hit home runs. So, we've downgraded
dingers,
from
man.
2019.
He does tag better.
Ugh, oh, my God. All right. I'm going to have
that fucking fat slob, man. I'll tell you.
I'm going to lose my mind here. All right, let's go on to the next depressing topic. How much impact, if any, will Noah Syndergaard have on this team? It's rumored that he could be returning here. I guess best case scenario would be the second week of September. He just faced live batters yesterday in batting practice. He'd have to go on a rehab stint, obviously get his arm stretched out. So best case scenario, in my opinion, is September 10th. By that point, the Mets might be out of the playoff race. But what do you guys think, Hayden? How much impact will Noah Syndergaard have on the team?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of physically contributing, in terms of going out there and eating innings, probably not that much. But I mean, in terms of just getting some of the the stress off of some of these guys' backs, I'm sure he'll be a help there. I mean, obviously Syndergaard, if he were to come back September 10th, like a random date you gave, he's probably going to make at least a solid, 4 starts. And, he's not going to go more than 3, 4, 5 innings. So that's really going to be all for Syndergaard. I think, if the half of the month that he were to pitch, it's just going to be to try to, like a rehab 2.0, but in the major leagues. They're not going to pressure him a lot. We know he's a fastball thrower. He has heat. And, coming back from Tommy John, something very serious, and already having a setback, with the tightness in his arm from Tommy John is another thing that they're going to have to keep an eye on. So Rojas, the coaching staff, the medical staff, they're going to be on Syndergaard's tail a lot when he does return. And I'm hoping he could try to contribute something. He was never this crazy, Cy Young caliber guy like Jacob Degrom, obviously, or anywhere near that. But he showed light of a solid, maybe to an extent, all-star guy like how he was in, was it 2015, 2016? So if we can get, just to go out there and try to eat up innings, that's really all I'm expecting out of him. I mean, the results, I'm hoping they're good, but just go out there and eat up innings. And I mean, I think he'll have an impact overall, physically, whatever, but I think eating up innings and just getting the stuff off of these guys' backs, really.
Mets fan, what, if any, impact do you think Noah Syndergaard will have on the team?
Huge. Correction, humongous. I will tell you right now, as said, we just lost the best pitcher in the universe, and we need Syndergaard back. Now, let me try and jog everybody's memory here. Syndergaard is not Degrom, but he's pretty damn good.
And if we can just get an inch of what Syndergaard was doing before his injury, it will be big for this team. Now, it always seemed like whenever Jake goes down, Noah seemed to step up and leave the staff. We've seen this man under pressure. He's an adrenaline type of pitcher. And coming back from Tommy John surgery, it's only going to activate Thor more. Now, we don't know what type of pitcher he is going to be when he comes back. He could be completely terrible. He could be completely on it. But this was a guy who was arguably a top 20, top 15 guy in his position going into last year before he went down to Tommy John surgery. With Jake out for the season, there is nobody that I trust to lead this pitching staff more than Syndergaard. And I really hope that he can be that guy. Am I optimistic that he will be? Half and half, because Tommy John is a very serious surgery to recover from. Everyone recovers different. But we need him back. We definitely need him back, especially with Jacob Degrom going down.
Frank, what do you think? Will Noah Syndergaard be able to help out the Mets this year?
He'll be able to help out a little bit, only because he starts every 5 days. So it's like and when you come back that late in September, it's like how many games are you really going to be out? 3 games, 4 games. It's like, okay, but I think this is more important for Noah's sake himself than the Mets, just because the free agency year. I mean, we need to understand what is Noah's value. Noah needs to know what his value is. Is he going to be a starting pitcher long term, or do you actually think about considering him as maybe a multi-inning bullpen kind of guy? And with the way Carrasco's been pitching, we're going to get to him later. I think we really need some short things, because Degrom. We don't know what Degrom is going to be like next year. We don't know how his injury is going to play out. We lost Kumar Rocker, so forget that. Matt Allen is down. Joey Lucchese is not going to be able to pitch next year. I mean, David Pearson, who knows? Marcus Strowman, does he get a huge contract and go elsewhere? So there's going to be a lot of question marks in the rotation next year. Just Taijuan Walker's health hold up. So I think that for Noah, he's going to be really important. Do we know for next year? Because, again, this year, 3-4 games, it'll help. You start him over Rich Hill, put Rich Hill to the pen, have another lefty. You got to give him multiple innings. That'd be a nice addition. But I think that for Noah's sake and just for the Mets long term, figuring out what do we have, who are we keeping, who are we not keeping, I think that's going to be the real big question that's going to not be fully answered, because it'll still be such a small sample size, but just see where Noah's at. Where is he at velo-wise, stuff-wise, how many innings could he pitch per start? That kind of stuff is what we're going to figure out.
Yeah, that's a great point, and actually what I wanted to say, and that is, how does Noah Syndergaard feel about coming back? Number one, potentially pitching out of the bullpen. Number two, if he only makes 3 or 4 starts or only makes 5 or 6 appearances out of the pen and pitches poorly, what does that do to his free agent value next year heading into the offseason? And furthermore, the Mets obviously trying to get into the playoffs this year. Do they push him, try to get him to pitch and do it a little more often? Maybe he's even ready to do, just knowing that he's a free agent. So just taking a look at how the Mets rotation is panning out now, with the uncertainty of Degrom, with Strowman being a free agent and all the other injuries, I would give Syndergaard a 3-year, $60, maybe even $70 million offer. That's kind of like a way where he can get done with that contract, still be only 29 or 30, and still can get a big contract after that. It'd probably be about 3 times equal to what a qualifying offer would be for him, which will probably be about 18 to 21 million if he did take it from the Mets. So that's where I stand. I want to have him back, but it's going to be very interesting to see how he does bounce back coming back from Tommy John surgery. And speaking of starting pitchers, unfortunately, this one has not been doing so well for us. Carlos Carrasco has had a couple really tough starts of late. The 3-run first inning to the Nationals. The Mets ultimately won that suspended game the next day, but then went out and was absolutely bombed by the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. So I want to ask, do you guys still have faith in Carlos Carrasco? Let's start with Hayden.
Boy, I mean, I really hope so. Obviously, how long is this contract for again?
It's
2 more years.
1 year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what I figured. So I mean, you're going to be stuck with him for quite a bit. So I mean, I hope we can get something out of him. Obviously, Carrasco has shown he had stuff in store when he was with Cleveland. He won Comeback Player of the Year. the following year. So I'm hoping we can get something out of him. You know, he's given up a lot of hard contacts. He's giving up a lot of long balls, unfortunately. And I mean, that last out against the Dodgers, yeah, that was against the Dodgers, but still, that was just brutal. And even going before that, I mean, he had the most typical Mets debut. First pitch, home run, Jonathan India, you know, deep left field. So it's very unfortunate with Carrasco. Obviously, any pitcher on this team, any player on the Mets, I want them to do well. I'll say this, when we got him, I wasn't super impressed. I wasn't like, oh my God, he's going to make this rotation elite. You know, I wasn't like that. I kind of figured he was a, you know, fair average, you know, around a mediocre pitcher who could help give coverage. You know, I never expected him to be a 2-starter. I was thinking at least maybe a 3-4, if even. But yeah, hopefully we can get something out of him shortly.
Unfortunately, what I think, at least me personally, the way I envisioned Carrasco was stability. Even if it was as a 3 or a 4, I imagine he was going to be the guy that took the ball every 5 days, had some starts where he went 7 innings, gave up only 1 run, but every now and then had a clunker like he has. But that has not been the case whatsoever. Mets fan, what do you think?
I'm really not worried about him at all. And the thing is that I think Carrasco is a great experienced arm. And I think he'll figure it out. This guy has a ton of weapons. He has a great pitch set. He has great peripherals. I mean, whatever you want to roll your eyes at analytics, but whatever. I can't really see what the problem is with him right now. I don't know. Maybe it's just getting back into it. It kind of sucks with the sense of urgency right now with this team right now, but I can't really figure out if he's just having a tough stretch, or maybe he's just not the pitcher he was before his injury. But I guess I'll just go with Old Faithful here. This is all James McCann's fault. There you go.
Frank, how you feeling about Cookie?
Yeah, it's very weird because his start against the Marlins, the stuff looks so good. I mean, his slider was absolutely deadly, and his velo was there. So stuff-wise, health-wise, he should be okay. But when you're giving up a lot of home runs, that is a bit concerning. And I just hope, fingers crossed, that this isn't one of those guys who was really good his whole career, comes to the Mets and just falls off the cliff, because we've seen too many guys that happens to for whatever reason. Doesn't work out in New York, doesn't work out with the Mets. I just hope he's not another one of those guys. I mean, because, again, the sample size is still so small. And, like, you see he'll have good innings, and then, like you said, the blow-up innings where he gives up the long ball. But I think that this is a guy that he's been such a good pitcher and for so long. And, again, like, the stuff is still there, so he should be okay. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, the career track record shows that he can be that guy. But like you said, Frank, we've seen so many cases of, you know, former stars coming to the Mets and almost like the Monstars stole their talent. I mean, it's actually unfathomable how many times it's happened to us. But I definitely got to see some more right now. When he takes them out, I'm feeling very uneasy. I'll tell you what, the guy I have the most faith in, I think you would all agree, is Tyler McGill right now. He's been fantastic. I mean, this has been unbelievable. And I said it on one of the first streams. I said, I love this kid's finesse and just like his personality, or whatever you want to call it. Like, he's very just stoic and like doesn't look like much bothers him, but he's been incredible. Not to get off topic or anything. But speaking of inconsistency, our bullpen has been that. And the center of that has unfortunately been one of the biggest free agent signings that the Mets made this offseason, and that's Trevor May. He was shelled in his outing the other night versus the Giants, gave up 3 home runs in that inning. Was it 3?
2 home runs, 3 runs total.
2 home runs and 3 runs. And this is not a new trend. He's had a few outings like this where the ball is just leaving the park. So what are your thoughts on Trevor May's inconsistent up and down season, Frank?
It's really unfortunate because he's a guy that, like you say, has had a lot of inconsistency this season. He also had the bad outing against the Nationals right before the Giants one, where he gave up a bunch of runs, and the Mets looked like they had this game in the bag, and the Nationals were right back in it. And for someone that, you know what, we've had so many bullpen struggles the past few years, this is the guy we go out as the big free agency signing for the bullpen. And the fact that he's been so inconsistent, and when he's bad, it is the long ball. And it's like, that's just one batter that boom. Like, if you give up a leadoff walk, it's whatever. But if it's a home run, it's like, oh, look out. And then once another one right after that, you're like, oh my gosh. So what happens with Trevor May is that you just don't know which guy you're getting, because then his last outing, he was great. So the fact that you never know what Trevor May you're getting is always a big time concern with any bullpen pitcher, because of whatever role you bring him in, all of a sudden the guy's going to lumbo. It's like, oh, we got this Trevor May today. But then he strikes out the side like, oh, we got good Trevor May. So like the fact that you really just don't know, it's hard for, a manager to know, like, is this the time to bring in Trevor May? Is it not the time? Should we have him face slap hitters and not home run hitters? Because he does give up like way too many long balls. For a reliever, you just can't be giving up that many home runs. It changes the game so quickly. And with a 3-batter minimum rule, like when you see one home run, you're like, we're probably going to see another. And with this rule, you're stuck. Because he could do too much damage and it's too late. By the time you go to Loop or by the time you go to somebody else, the damage has already been done. You can't do anything about it. So it is unfortunate because he's one of those guys that we do have for multiple years. And you hope that this rough stretch or this down stretch, which all relievers go through, Edwin Diaz has had it, Lugo's had it, Castro's had it. Everyone goes through good stretches, bad stretches. But when May is bad, he's really bad and tough to watch.
Mets fan, I want you to answer the question about Trevor May, but first I want to preface it with this question. In 7th inning, 8th inning tie game where you need a clean inning, who would you go to right now, Trevor May or Miguel Castro?
Miguel Castro. The dude's the dude's in a revenge tour right now.
And I asked because they've both had very up and down seasons. Castro had a nice little streak there, and then of course he didn't have such a great outing against San Francisco in that same game as Trevor May. So there's a lot of up and downs all across this bullpen, but you would go with Castro?
Yes, I would go with Castro only because he's just become like he's definitely grown into a better situational reliever. Being a sinker ball pitcher and keeping the ball low. When you need a ground ball, he's kind of become the guy because Jerry's Familia's just fallen off a cliff now. I would definitely go Miguel Castro. But there's Trevor May. The inconsistencies, I really have no idea what May's plan is sometimes. And I think he forgets that his breaking stuff is actually good. And he just starts chucking fastballs over and over and over again. And I've mentioned it before that May likes to use that top half of the strike zone more than any reliever. And so I'm not surprised that he's giving up home runs, but have some confidence in that slider, have some confidence in the changeup. May is a fantastic reliever, and the guy has great control. He has great command, but his pitch sequences and selection are just making him go back and forth, and it's killing him. And you just like Frank said, we just don't know what Trevor May we're going to get, and we need reliever help right now. We need arms down the stretch for this team. And they're all dropping like flies. Trevor May has been healthy the whole season, but a lot of them are dropping like flies. So it's like, we need him here. So he's got to get something together or do something with Hefner, who he's very high on, but I just don't know. I can never figure out what his plan is when he gets on the mound. It just seems like he's spamming the crap out of fastballs. Like, yeah, you do on MLB The Show. Yes, I use that rep. Yes. You're like, yes. Okay. But I just don't know. I can't figure him out sometimes, but when he's there, he's good. But it's just like, what are you doing here sometimes, Trevor? I don't get it. Get it together, Fortnite boy.
Well, I appreciate you answering my question, but it was actually a trick question because the only right answer is Jake Reed. Come on. The guy's been awesome so far.
Yeah.
He's pretty
Sink
good.
a slider.
I'm kidding. He's been pretty impressive, though. Hopefully he steps up and he can take some of these innings from Familia, from Castro, from May, who are all probably worn out by now. Yeah. They've had a big workload. I don't know why, but I, for some reason, have some faith in Familia still. I think he's going through a tough stretch. I'd rather it be now than in September, but definitely needs to pick it back up and get back on the horse here. But we will see. As we know, Familia is a very finicky pitcher. So Hayden is having a little bout with allergies, so we'll skip him on this one. What do you guys think? Is Michael Conforto turning the corner? Wait, hold on. I'm going to answer. You know why? I'm going to tell you he's not, because we've asked this question on almost every Mets weekly, and I am sick of it. That's all I have to say. No.
Is that it? Is that it? We're done? All right, stream's over, boys. We'll see you. That's it. All right.
Was that directed to me, Tony? It cut out.
Yeah, go to
Frank,
yeah, go to
is Michael Conforto turning a corner? He's not.
I think he is. He's improved for sure. I mean, he's definitely getting. Tony, he got 2 clutch hits in one game. I mean, that's 2 more than the whole season. So that alone shows that he definitely is improving. Batting average is up. OPS is up. He still won't lay down bunt. He still won't take a half swing. Still has that same pull everything approach. But the results are there. And that one hit he got pulling the ball, the Giants didn't shift for whatever reason. But I think that he does look better. He's still not the best version of Conforto, which I think is still a good sign that like he's still capable of better. But he goes through his inconsistencies. But I hope that just if I could see like a couple half swings, maybe just like one bunt. Because what bothers me with Conforto is that even with runners on, they still pull shift him. So you could bunt down the left field line, move a runner over, and get on base. And now you've weighted run creation. You've created so many weighted runs that now this team could just, well, I mean, they're not going to score anyway. They'll just strand you. But still, it's like you could just get more offense consistently, especially in a big spot. Like, it's wide open. And you're not, Wilson Ramos, like Conforto could run a little bit. Just lay down one. If I could just see one, I would be happy. But he's improving, but it's still going to take a lot more to make up for the way this season has gone, being in the walk year. And I just hope that Boris doesn't try to pull the shenanigans where Conforto has a great August, great September. Oh, he figured it out. Oh, he's worth max money again. Forget your qualifying offer. He's the same guy again. Like, that's what concerns me, is that then it like screws the Mets with the offseason plan and the whole free agency. Every day the tweets fresh in the Twitter, 9-gallon roast-all reports just completely false. Like, I just don't want it to turn into that because he's having a hot stretch at the end of the year. Because if this was the beginning, he has a hot stretch, then he closed on a bad stretch. Like, Conforto is not that good. But it's always the recency bias. The what have you done for me lately? So if he finishes strong, everyone's going to be like, resign Conforto. After it was saying walk Conforto, qualifying offer Conforto, and I was like, oh my God, we have to keep him.
Yeah, and I would like to see him lay down a bunt here or there just to plant it in the other team's mind. So they know, okay, wait, he could do that, but hasn't done it yet. It's pretty frustrating. I'll agree with that one. Hayden, what do you think? Is Conforto turning a corner?
Well, I just want to say, ever since this happened, Conforto has been elite.
You're getting a qualifying offer.
Exactly.
Let's go. Steve's not paying you.
So
Those
pretty much,
girls in front.
Oh yeah, they were chill. They looked to me like I was nuts though. Literally, as soon as I said that, like a dozen people looked to me and security was like triggered. But pretty much the point of that message was that Conforto heard me because he stepped out of the box and took a couple, trying to stretch out his arm a bit. So he heard me. So he knew that I was going to give him a qualifying offer. I was going to DFA him. So he woke up. But realistically, I think Conforto has been, if you want to call him streaky, by all means, I'm not going to argue. But as of right now, he's getting better than what we've been seeing. We've been seeing him swing at all these pitches, not go the other way. And there's like some conspiracies, with his stance, with his mechanics, with, bringing his elbows outwards. There's been all that. I know it was different from 2019 to 2020 to even now. So I don't know, maybe Conforto's struggling with some mechanics a little bit. We know we hurt his hamstring. His stance looks a little bit different. I have pointed that out a lot. But I will say Conforto definitely had a game yesterday. He is arguably the reason we won yesterday's game. I've liked what I've been seeing out of him. He's hitting the ball well. We're seeing that sweet Conforto swing from the left side, which, we love to see that. So defensively, he's fine. Really no complaints. He bobbled the ball a couple times, I think twice in the last couple weeks, but his defense is fine. He still has a nice cannon of an arm to throw runners out, to prevent runners from advancing. The offense, I think, is what we need. He could hustle on the base pass. He could, hopefully try to go the other way more, beat the shift. That's one thing. Obviously, you don't want to hit the ball hardly, and then it goes right to, the second baseman or shortstop right by the shift. And I was like, oh, damn it, that's so unlucky. Well, sadly, baseball's is a results-oriented sport. So that's really how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, Mets fan, before I get to you, I just wanted to say, as far as Conforto defensively, I wasn't watching about a week ago, but I saw someone on the Marlins, I think it was, got a base hit that turned into a triple. I guess Conforto was trying his luck at soccer. That kind of tells me all I need to know about where Conforto's head has been. But Mets fan, educate me. I'm just a casual. Tell me about why he's better than Mike Trout and Nolan Arenado and Ty Cobb combined. Please enlighten me.
I've already established that, so I don't think I think that point's already been proven. But Conforto truthers, we never lose. All right, we know what this guy we know what this guy's capable of, and he's had a great month of August. I mean, slashing 908, 149 WRC plus, 390 WOBA. I mean, to be honest, this man has been destroying the baseball all year. And it's about time that he finally gets the results that he deserves. And it's been very, very tough to watch. I get that, but trust Michael Conforto. Okay, he's a proven player. I understand that he needs to be shipped to China right now, but be patient.
All right. Well, we have two stands here. It's Zrees, I believe is how you pronounce it, and we have Mets fan who love Conforto. So let me ask you, and Zrees, let me know in the comments. If Michael Conforto says, I want 6 years and $170 million next year, would you give it to him?
After this year?
Mm-hmm.
No. You still
But
have
you said he's great.
Yeah.
You said he's got a 149 weighted on base percentage, average percent WOBA, qualify, blah, blah. But I thought he was great.
I think he's definitely proven that he's worth that money, but I think you kind of need to send it.
Then why wouldn't you give it to
kind of a listen? I mean, if I think at this point, it's obviously gotten into his head. He definitely has a lot to prove. I will give you that. He's a proven player who still has a lot to prove, obviously, in his walk year. And that's how it is. I think he's definitely going to show that he's worth that money next year if they bring him back. But right now, especially coming off of a 2020 year, which nobody takes anything seriously from that, especially with how deep we are into this season, you do have to see a little more, just as a moral perspective, if you want to invest long term into Conforto. So I would not give him the big deal, but I don't know. It's kind of tough because
moral kind of sounds like something that goes hand in hand with clutch, but I don't think clutch is a real thing. But moral, I don't know. You're saying we need to see moral.
You're telling me the team has to be clutch?
No, you'd say, well, you don't believe in clutch when we bring it up about certain players, but you're saying that we need to have more better morale about Conforto. He needs to show something.
I'm saying
to
the front office and everybody who's watching him play. That's what I'm saying. The morale of them. They have to see that, okay, he's having a tough year. We know that he's able to play like the player that he's been, and that's it. I mean, I don't. That's all I have to say. I'm agreeing. Right. I pretty much agree with giving him a qualifying offer at this point, but I do think that he will prove that he is worth the big money.
I'm just pressing you for a little extra quality content here. I'm going to put my Mets colored glasses and I'm going to change them to Wumbo. I think that's what my problem was. I'm not seeing Conforto in the same light as you and Zrees, but never mind that. That's something to worry about when the offseason comes. Luckily, he is playing a little bit better right now. I will admit to that. So hopefully it keeps up. The Mets need it. Moving on to our next topic. And, I'm not exactly sure if we mean about the offseason for this one or maybe someone that they find on the waivers. Mets fan, maybe you could moderate this one for us.
All right. So basically a player that maybe they need to get back from the IL, maybe somebody in the minors, somebody that can, contribute, provide a spark. If you want me to start off, I can do that.
Please do that.
All right. Jose Martinez. All right. This guy's been hurt all year, but he can definitely hit, and he destroys lefties. I don't know if anybody realizes that that's been a problem on this team. I'm actually very excited to see what this guy can do because I like his approach at the plate. Hopefully Quattlebaum doesn't fuck it up. But maybe he'll provide that spark to lift this offense. I don't know, off the bench. But let's hope that this rehab assignment goes well and we can see what he does because I think
the Blankenhorn whole thing, I think that's pretty much run its course, even though it was only like a few days. So, I mean, Jose Martinez, I do want to see that because he was supposed to be a big bench piece and he got hurt, unfortunately.
All right. So I'm going to go, if you guys don't mind, and I'm going to say Khalil Lee. Khalil Lee has been mashing in the minor leagues. Now, we know in his short stint in the majors, guy didn't even make contact in his first 6 at-bats. He did end up getting a couple of hits while he was up here, but he is fast as lightning. He maybe could get this team, going a little bit like Frank's been talking about, put some pressure on the other team, take the extra base, steal the base. Hey, how about when the ball goes over toward the dugout?
Just don't even look at yourself, Peter. Just go. Just don't even look at him.
Don't even listen to Gary.
Be independent.
That's right. But, Khalil Lee's been killing the baseball. He's been hitting home runs in AAA. And, it's got to be better than Albert Almora. You don't get as good of a glove as Almora. But, hey, anything to spark this team a little bit, I think Khalil Lee might be someone that can do that. Frank, who do you think?
I tweeted this the other day, but the guy is Josh Reddick. I mean, you have him hanging out in the minor leagues, been playing well in the minor leagues. This is the guy that the Mets could use right now because we talked about what are they struggling with, runs in scoring position. Why are they struggling with that? Approach, mentality, anxiety. Josh Reddick is a proven veteran, tough out, pesky hitter. When the Mets played the Diamondbacks, who got the big walk-off for the Diamondbacks? Oh, Josh Reddick, because this is a guy that's been proven, has a ton of playoff experience with the Houston Astros, and he wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the Springer, Correa, Altuve, but he was always a starter for that team year in, year out. That was one of the top teams in the league. So this is a guy that knows what he's doing. And again, just having a vet who maybe could teach these young guys a little bit just about approach. I don't anticipate that Josh Reddick is going to be swinging at pitches, 5 feet outside and taking strike 3 right down the middle. I feel like he'll have a little bit of a plan and just provide more productive outs and just give them exactly what they need. And like a Mets fan said with Blankenhorn, I would so much rather have Josh Reddick at the plate than Travis Blankenhorn right now because I just feel so much more confident. Reddick is so much more proven. And you have to think that Reddick is motivated, that this is a guy who was DFA'd by an Arizona team who's really bad and just went from being a playoff starter with Houston. Like, I want to get my name back on the map. I want to be a big-time player again. And the fact that he's doing well right now in the minor leagues, he shows that he's ready, he's healthy. We could use a healthy body that could give us some hits off the bench. So I would be all for calling up Josh Reddick.
Okay, very nice. Hayden?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any crazy names that would stand out in terms of the rest of the season. I mean, Khalil Lee is a solid pick. I'll tag on with Frank. Josh Reddick, I think, is a solid guy. He has around a low to average bat. Nothing crazy with the glove, but he's a guy better than Almora Jr. obviously in terms of the offense. I don't really have anyone crazy. I mean, if we're going into the offseason, there's plenty of guys that I want to name out there. But in terms of under the radar, I mean, dig through your farm system. There's plenty of guys. Khalil Lee's been very hot. One guy I saw that got DFA'd from the Cubs is the former Met, Yunesri Vargas.
Yes.
He could potentially be a guy if you're kind of done with Albert Almora Jr. I mean, I'm really surprised that he's still at the major league level. I think due to injuries, obviously. Yunesri Vargas is a much better overall player, in my opinion. Maybe not so much in terms of defense, but, you got to value both. If you're putting Rich Hill on the bump, we can't be putting, Albert Almora Jr. every time Rich Hill, a pop fly hitter, goes on, the mound. So Yunesri Vargas, I guess, could be my pick. No one really crazy for the rest of the season, though.
No, it's a nice pick. I like that. I did not realize he was DFA'd. I thought he was having some success, but
get no more over him.
Yeah, strange. All right, very nice. Those are good picks. I like them. Let's move on to this topic, and that is the impending free agency of Marcus Strowman. Strowman has been very, very efficient this year. He's been healthy. He's giving you 6 to 7 innings, most outings, and keeping us in games. Right now, with the uncertainty of Degrom, with Strowman with Syndergaard also in a walk year, who knows what this rotation could look like? What would you offer to Marcus Strowman this offseason in the way of a contract, Mets fan?
All right. Well, out of all the pending free agents we have, Strowman has earned his money as far as I'm concerned. I think
we all know that I'm a huge Strowman fan. I love his play style, that kind of unorthodox type of pitching. His energy and personality, I mean, that's what this team needs. And I've always been very high on him. So I don't know if it sounds like an overpay to any of you, but I would go 4 years in the $80 to $90 million range for Strowman. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. That sounds about right. I think he'll probably want more. He'll probably want Wheeler money. 5 years, 100, 106. I think he's going to want that, but I'm not sure he'll get it. We'll see. But I'm right there with you. I'd definitely sign for that immediately, tomorrow, today, whenever. Frank, what do you think?
Yeah, I think with Marcus, he definitely has pitched very well this year. But as with any player, especially one who is already 30, I'm always looking more at years than I am money. So ideally, if it was up to me, if somehow he'd agree to it, I would want 3 years, whatever AAV, even if it's 25 million AAV, 27 AAV, just again for 3 years. Because I think anytime you go over 3 with any player, it's a huge risk. You don't know if there's many injuries involved and just how they're going to age. I mean, Marcus, he's not a high velo guy, so I feel like he has enough finesse and movements where he could still be effective at an advanced age. But I just think my general rule of thumb with any players, I'll go high AAV, low years. So if I can keep him 3, 75 million, 80 million, I'd be all for that. And even though his win-loss record hasn't been good, he's been durable, he's been reliable, and his ERA is good. So every time he goes out there, it's 2 runs, 3 runs. And the last few starts, he's giving you length. He went over 100 pitches. Whether that was a smart decision by the manager or not, up for debate. But same thing as the Nationals. He gave you length, which is something that you cannot take for granted with this team. How many times these guys go 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, and like you said earlier, Tony, the bullpen being overworked. Having a guy that routinely is going 6 innings, 7 innings. I mean, Strowman's had a complete game. He pitched deep in the Colorado game, 8 innings. So we've seen plenty of good Marcus Strowman. And the fact that he did in a Mets uniform is something that you should value over other free agent starting pitchers, because you don't know how will they mesh in New York. Strowman, he's shown that even though he may argue with Tim Healy or go crazy on Twitter, as long as he's performing for my team and the rest of my team likes him and they all get along, that's what I care about.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he also went 8 or maybe even a complete game against the Reds in Cincinnati.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So he's had a couple.
8 or 9.
He might have went 8 or 9. I think it was a blowout. And he went 8. It was a blowout. Yeah. But just another example of he really has kind of been that stability in this rotation that otherwise has just been changed in and out every single week, it seems, with injuries. Hayden, what kind of value do you put on Marcus Strowman as he enters free agency?
Yeah, I mean, Strowman's been pretty solid his last couple outings. A couple of weeks ago, we got into a little bit of a jam, the Pirates series. Both of those, we got into some jams. But he's been solid. I think, obviously, don't look at the wins-loss record. That's foolish. I don't care if he's 8 for 12. That means nothing. If you want to look at basic stats, look at his ERA and WHIP and strikeouts there. But simply with Strowman, he's been good. Obviously, he's not, getting the wins that people talk about because his offense isn't doing anything. He gave up the long, he's been giving up the long ball a little bit. The hard contact's been something. But I've been liking the splitter slider out of him. Last outing, I think he went like 7.5 or something innings. So the depth is very important that Frank expressed. I've been liking what I've been seeing out of Strowman. To carry on what Mets fan says, he brings that weird personality to the team. I mean, online, he's a little interesting. Wouldn't really want to get involved with that. But on the team, you see him. He's like Lindor, cool swag. They dress cool. Bright
characters.
Yeah. Black, great stuff. Great character. You see him, stomping the glove, being like, let's go, let's go. I like it. He has awesome vibes. Right now he's making, 1 year, $18 million?
Yeah.
And they gave him the qualifying offer.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed, obviously. I wouldn't go crazy long term. I want to see how the rest of his season pans out. If he goes, like how he did in the Giants or maybe the Reds or whatever, then yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind giving him a solid 3, 4, 5 years and, boosting the money up, obviously. So, yeah, I'm going, at least a 3, 4, 5 year plan would be very solid for Strowman, in my opinion.
Okay, good. I think we're all in agreement that Strowman is very important to this team. And it sounds like we're all willing to pull out Steve Cohen's pocketbook to pay him. So hopefully Steve feels the same way because we really do need him next year. Speaking of this year, though, how can the Mets turn this season around? As you guys have seen, I've been putting it down on the banners this whole time. The Mets are currently 4.5 games behind the Atlanta Braves, who are on a crazy streak, 13-3 in August. They have the 25th easiest schedule in baseball. Phillies have the easiest schedule in baseball. So Mets 5th most difficult. So things are definitely up against us. What do you guys think? What can the Mets do to turn their season around and end up making the playoffs? Hayden, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking a look at the schedule here, and, coming back from that Pacific Coast trip, we're going to be playing the Nationals, Marlins, have a couple interleague, add a division, and then, we're going to be having, a lot of series against the Marlins, Nationals, and Phillies. So obviously the Braves and the Braves too. I think we're having 2 more series against the Braves and 1 more against the Phillies. Those ones are going to be huge series. If this Mets team wants to show they are something, they're going to have to get 2 to 3 of a sweep against those teams. And then, what comes to the point is where you have to rely on a team's failure now. Because let's say we do go on, a 10-for-2 spree or something like that. Well, Braves, they have a pretty easy schedule. I mean, they're going to be playing the Orioles. So it's going to be something the Braves too. And that's what the Braves did this trade deadline. They needed the outfielding bats, Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, to wake it up. And I mean, regardless, they were able to work around the injuries, something the Mets kind of did, but then kind of didn't on the other hand, because they were minor leaguers and they could only carry it so long. Same question for the Braves, though, obviously. But I don't know. I mean, we're talking thin ice, really, how the Mets could turn it around. You're going to need – I'm not really concerned with the Phillies. I really was never super concerned with the Phillies. For a week, I was a little. But it was really the Braves was the big team. I figured it was going back to that 2019, standings where the Braves would be in first, Mets would be in second or third. But, I mean, you're going to need solid outings. You're going to need, obviously, high production of offense. There's runners in scoring position, BS. Yeah, that's going to have to get fixed like now if you would like to win. Pitching, you're going to need depth. The pitching isn't so much of the concern. It's not how it was in the first half where we're having our guys give up like 2 hits and 1 run in a game. It's not going to be like that. But if our pitching can go out there, give up 2-3 runs per game, and we could try to score at least 5. If we could score 5 runs per game in every single game, in a miracle, we would probably be a division champion. I know there was a stat, I put it in the chat, that if the Mets scored, I think 3 runs in every games, they would have been like 72 and like 41 or something like that, which would have had us in like the second best record in Major League Baseball. And this was a week ago. So, if we could score runs, we're fine. Our pitching is doing the job. They're only giving up a limited amount of runs. It's just our offense isn't doing something. So personally, I think the chances are very slim. I mean, we're talking a 5 to 10% chance in the Mets making the playoffs, but I think if they could turn around, if they can get that runners in scoring position crap out of the way, and maybe get some decent management from Luis Rojas, I think they have a slim chance.
You sound very positive about it.
Oh, hell no.
Overly optimistic.
Third place team, solid team. Realistically, I
think maybe if they honestly possibly have a small little inkling of an opportunity to bear
every team has a chance. I mean, the Nationals are 1%, but I don't know. It's better than me ranting off on here saying why we're not. Personally, I don't think we are. If we were in July, I wouldn't be concerned. But we only have so much time left, and that's what I said in July. We only have so much time left. We're going to be saying, oh, we're in July. Oh, we're in July. Oh, we're going into August. Oh, we're in the middle of August. Well, now it's the end of August, and we're sitting here with what excuse? Oh, it's the end of August. We have another month and a half left. No, time ran out. Same stuff that happened in 2019.
Absolutely. Frank, how can the Mets turn their season around?
Yeah, it's going to come down to the offense, but as I've stated before, I don't think they're just going to magically wake up today and be like, oh, we know how to hit run scoring position, we got this, and boom, snap the finger, they just fixed the approach, and now they're good with runners in scoring position. I don't see that happening quite yet. So for the time in between, they just have to change the mentality of not playing scared and be like, listen, we're behind. We got to take chances. We have to be aggressive. Where that is steal bases, lane games, Rojas, take the bunt off. Do not bunt everybody lane games. It just isn't working. Send a runner, Gary D. Sarcina. You know what I mean? Like, lay down a bunt for a hit. Throw inside, like just do some different things. Just be more aggressive as a whole, as a team. And the problem is, like, you could just tell that is not Rojas's game. Like, it's just completely against what he does. So unless they fire him, I feel like Rojas has shown me an inability to change. He's not going to change. So, I mean, does Lindor come back and just completely change the team? We talked about, the record with and without Lindor. It's pretty significant. Does he have that leadership to get these guys where they need to be pitching-wise with his mound visits and hitting-wise, just in their ear and doing it himself, driving in those runs? When he has an opportunity to rush competition, could he get it done? Javi Baez playing for a big contract. He needs to get it done. So maybe when those guys come back next week, they can improve the offense just a little bit because, like I talked about in the beginning, all their losses are so close, 1 run, 2 run losses. So if you just have a little bit from Lindor and a little bit from Baez here and there, maybe that could be the last hope to get them over the hump and just give them enough wins. Hopefully the Braves falter a little bit so you can just gain that ground, and then you'll see what happens from there. If you win the head-to-head matchups, you got this. But if they continue what they're doing, being conservative, being anxious with runners on base, swinging at pitches out of the zone, taking strike 3 right down the middle, it's going to be pretty tough.
Absolutely. And before I go to you, Mets fan, I have to ask and point this out. Hayden, do you have 3 Pete Alonso jerseys in your room? Because you're wearing one. You have one on the back of your chair, and I see another one hanging on the wall. And I just want to know what truck did those all fall off?
So let me explain. So that one back there was gifted to me for my birthday this year, and it was a size above. So it didn't fit. So I hung it up there. And then this one, I bought at Citi Field, but it obviously doesn't have the number on the bottom. And then this one obviously does have the number 20. So yes.
Okay. Okay. So the one on the chair is the most authentic and fits you. Okay. Makes sense.
Theoretically, yes. And this one has the 150. This is
okay. Well, I'm a size large, so if you want to send me that one on the wall, I'll give you my address in a PM, okay?
Sure.
Mets talk. What can the Mets do to turn their season around, if anything, at this point?
I'm not guaranteeing any. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but there's no denying the obvious here. We need Francisco Lindor back, and we need him back badly. I know he's underperformed this year. I know he got a huge contract, and blah. But if you haven't noticed it yet, Lindor glued this team together. All right. And he kept us in that winning mentality. He kept us in first place. I mean, come on now. Lindor is pretty much our only hope here. And I'm going to tell you, and maybe when Baez comes back, it'll be even better and energy will be restored. But like, that's the only way I can see this team bouncing back to where they belong, which is first place. And that's about it. I don't know. Just get Lindor back, get Baez back, and hopefully they can provide a spark. That's it. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Pretty much echoing everything that you guys said. Lindor and Baez have got to come back healthy, and not only healthy, but they have to be productive. They need to get one of Syndergaard or Jacob Degrom back pitching at a high level, and the core needs to step up. The offensive core needs to nut up or shut up. It's time. This is it. This is the stretch. There's 40 games left. They need to pick up one game every 10 games. In other words, they need to play at basically a 600 clip for the rest of the year to catch the Braves, and maybe even better the way the Braves are playing right now. It's going to be tough. We have the 5th most difficult schedule in baseball. After we get through this gauntlet, we still have 3 with the Yankees, 3 with the Brewers, 3 with the Red Sox, who I know are slumping, but obviously they still have a talented roster. And then we also still have 3 remaining head-to-head the last weekend of the series with the Braves. So it's an uphill battle. If this team gets firing on all cylinders, they get rid of this struggling with runners in scoring position, they might have a chance, but it's definitely looking a little bleak right now. So I think that's all we have as far as topics. I'm going to hand it over to you, Mets fan. Let's check, see if we have any questions from the viewers that we can answer.
Yeah, I just brought him in here. Let's see. If Luis Rojas is gone, who do you want to be the manager? That's plain and simple. I think Frank and I have a very similar answer here, but I don't know.
All right. So why don't we start off with you, Frank?
I mean, if this is the guy I think Mets fan is thinking of, I'll say it if it's not. Wally Backman. I think that when you talk about energy, you talk about holding players accountable, you talk about not getting picked off every time you're on base and just swinging at craziness. Wally Backman would never, ever let that continue. He would be so on these players that they would have to figure it out. I mean, he is like Hayden-esque when he is not happy. And it like won't even be Major League Baseball. It could be like the lowest of baseball, and he's ready to just like rip his whole team. Like not just rip the umpires, but actually rip his own players and just hold them accountable. So if that doesn't work, like just get the complete opposite for Rojas. If that doesn't work, then you got to change the core, because it's like you change all these managers, you go all these different styles. If these guys still can't hit, then you got to get rid of the hitters. Because, I mean, it's like what else could you really try at this point? So I know his like relationship with the Mets isn't great. Maybe it's better with Sandy. If they get rid of Sandy and Cohen just has that kind of money and that mentality, like I want to win, because as far as the managers out there right now, nobody really jumps off the map. Like you could say Beltran, but that's a rookie manager. I mean, Beltran could be worse because he doesn't have the experience of manager. As much as I like him as a player, I don't know. He's a very quiet guy, so I'm not sure how much different he would be than Rojas in that sense. Maybe he could give a better message as a hitter, like with runners in scoring position, and even though he took strike 3 looking. But I think that somebody else, if a good manager gets fired, like I don't know if Bob Melvin is somehow available or Bud Black or something. I don't know if there's some veteran out there that all of a sudden is available, you could consider that. But other than that, I mean, I think Wyatt Backman, it'd just be so different than Rojas. It's worth a shot. Just give it a try.
Is that your pick, Mets fan?
Yeah, I mean, I need Wally World, man. It's just like I see all these videos of him just melting down and basically going after these umpires and basically tearing them a new asshole. And it's the greatest thing ever. I need that energy back. And I don't know, like Mickey Callaway was like half and half or whatever, but it was just like, it wasn't it. He just didn't have a feel for the game as a manager. I think he's a fine pitching coach. Would I bring him back to do anything in the MLB? No, because he's a piece of shit. But like, I would go Wally back. Another guy, Lou Piniella. That's another possibility.
He's so old. Would he want to come back?
He is old. He is old.
But like, came back, but I don't know if I could see Lou back.
Yeah,
he
but like,
there's just the mentality though. Lou is another guy that listen. I've been watching Lou Piniella for a million years. He really lost it way back in the day, before you guys were born. Lou Piniella would really just be all over him, just huge meltdowns with the bases and everything. I mean, Lou would not take any crap. He would be very different than Rojas also.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting who else I had as like a possible. Tim Tuffle. I mean, he has a good history with the team. I mean, I don't know, but Wally would definitely be my number one choice.
Hayden, who would be your guy?
Yeah, there's really no one that sticks out. I mean, it's like the position of the manager is completely different than what it was like when a guy like, let's say, like Bobby Valentine, where they were more hands-on. Now it comes to the point, it's like, well, how much does the manager actually do? Do they really make the lineup? Is it more the analytical team? Is it more that just Sandy doesn't trust Zach Scott, so then he takes more into consideration, so it's less time with Rojas and Zach Scott? Honestly, no one really crazy sticks out. I mean, everyone says rookie manager, but I mean, how much experience? I mean, yeah, Callaway had some stuff with Cleveland, sure. I mean, how much experience really did Rojas have in the major leagues? He had some stuff, down in the Caribbean and stuff, but that's a whole different ball game. No pun intended. So I mean, maybe a guy like Beltran. He's been with this team. He's been around baseball for decades. Beltran could be a guy. Bob Melvin's contract is ending up with Oakland soon. He could be a guy. Obviously, the A's are very hot.
He's back for 2020, 2022. He's done. He's staying there.
Yeah, okay.
In Oakland, yeah.
Sadly.
Really no one crazy that's excited. I mean, honestly, as long as it's not Rojas, and you never know. I mean, these guys are a surprise. When Callaway came in, his first year was terrible. His second year really showed a ride. So you never know with these guys. They're so unpredictable.
Yeah, I'm kind of averse to doing a rookie manager just because it seemed to bit us the last 2 times we did it. Beltran does fall under that one. So if I was going for like someone with experience, it might be one of ththose recycled names like Pinella, Bud Black, whoever. I know you just, I think, said he's still going to be back. But from a pure entertainment value, instead of Wally Backman, hear me out here, Captain Red Ass Paul LaDuca to come in and manage this
That's
team.
the most
Mets fan from Brooklyn would lead the league in ejections without a doubt. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember 2006 or 7. He got thrown out. There's a picture of him in the umpire's face. It's unbelievable. Again, this is pure fantasy and entertainment value. I don't know how he'd be as a manager, but hey, he was a former catcher. They usually do make really good managers. So I don't know. Maybe it could be cool.
I like it.
So we have a few more questions here from our viewers, and thank you all so much for submitting them to us. We're going to get to them all right over here. Let's take a look. We have, if you had to keep 3 hitters and 3 pitchers from this team, who would they be? Frank, go ahead. Start us off.
As far as hitters, I mean, we kind of touched on it. So, like, for me, Lindor and Degrom don't count in these questions. They shouldn't because they're going to be here regardless. So, I don't know if we're doing expiring guys, but if not expiring, like I said, Alonso, someone I want to keep, Nimmo, someone I want to keep, and McNeil I want to keep just because I think McNeil has such a high ceiling. I don't know if anyone loves that term, but I think he could just be such a good hitter year in, year out. I would like to keep him, just his approach. The fact that even when McNeil is bad, he's not striking out. I do like that. Then as far as pitchers, I want to keep Lugo. I want to keep Loop. And then as far as another pitcher, I mean – that's where things get really interesting because all these guys, they're so up and down. So, I mean, it would be really hard to think of a third guy. I mean, I guess Edwin Diaz, but that's kind of by default. So, I don't know. Those other guys are just so, like, familiar. I don't want to see them anymore. I've seen enough. So, those probably be my guys.
Mets fan, who would be your 3 hitters and 3 pitchers?
All right, well, yeah, I guess I'll exclude Degrom and Lindor. I guess I'd go Nimmo, Alonso, and just to troll, I'll do Conforto. And then pitchers, I do want to keep Aaron Loop because he's just a fucking warrior. Edwin Diaz is a freaking given for me.
Paul LaDuca.
Oh, this is the best one. This is where he threw everything on the field. The one against the Oakland A's. This is the best LaDuca ever.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Mets fan. I wanted you.
Everyone needs to see it. This was so
might need to take it off because it might the stream might get flagged. But MLB, yeah, they're quick with this. So
just skip ahead to the part he starts throwing stuff.
I don't want to take any chances. I'll get off it.
Oh man,
he was a nut. Put it that way. I'm sorry, Mets fan. Didn't
Crazy.
mean to stop you there. I thought you'd keep going, but anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
Loop, Diaz, and I guess Strowman because Strowman's just been excellent this year. If I had to pick 3, did we get into Colin?
Not yet.
No, we didn't. Okay, so we're gonna save that for the rest after the viewer questions.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that would be next. Hayden, give me your 3 hitters, 3 pitchers real quick, and then we're going to go on to the next 2 things we got on the docket.
I'm probably going to go Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo. So those 3 for the offense or batters. Now, in terms of the pitching, DeGrom, I mean, dude, can you really count DeGrom? He has an opt-out after 2022, so hopefully, Steve Cohen has an extension planned. So I'm going to go DeGrom. I guess Tyler McGill. I don't want to say it's too soon, but we've been seeing some nice light of him.
I like that.
I don't want him to have a sophomore slump, knock on wood. So DeGrom, Tyler McGill. I guess I'll say Aaron Loop too. So Loop, DeGrom, McGill, and then on the other side, Alonso, McNeil, Nimmo.
Okay, very nice. We got one more question we're going to get to. We're going to get this one real quick. Give me what pitcher you want the Mets to go after in the offseason. Mets talk.
Is there really no one?
Mets fan. My God, I'm killing it. I'm having a great day.
I mean, I have not really looked at like anything. Like, I guess I would say maybe Kenta Maeda, maybe somebody like with some experience.
He's not even available in the offseason. He's got 2 years.
Oh, he's got 2 years. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Isn't Kershaw a free agent? I mean, why not? Like someone. I mean, I to be honest, I'd go after Strowman. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know Carlos Rodon is a free agent. Who's
They're gonna lock him up.
season. They're probably gonna lock him up. I don't know. We'll see. It kind of sucks right now, but like just see the pitching just like right now, our scenario with our best pitcher going down. I just can't even think about it at this point. But if you don't, God forbid, can't bring Syndergaard back or can't bring Strowman back, you got to find somebody, I guess, somebody with experience. That's
Trevor Bauer's a free agent.
Sure.
Trevor Bauer's a free agent after this year. I'm just saying. No, I'm just kidding. Verlander, Greinke, Gossman, Kershaw, Charlie
That's
Morton.
a good class.
It's not terrible. It's an older class.
The ages on him though.
Yeah, it's an older class. So, any other names from you, Frank or Hayden?
Guys like,
a
little bridge.
Yeah,
I think that could be pretty interesting. I mean, he's not really crazy, but I know Yusei Kikuchi from the Mariners, All-Star this year, free agent. So I mean, he's not going to do anything crazy. But I mean, he's a solid depth guy. I mean, Justin Verlander would be awesome, and we all know why.
Because we get to look at Kate Upton all the time.
Only Yuki Sagano. I remember this past offseason they were talking about from Japan. I don't know if the Mets want to pursue him again. And we know that the Wilpon administration didn't really go out into, Asia and the Pacific in terms of marketing out.
He got Kaz Matsui. Come on. Stop it.
Stills. But yeah, I mean, Sugano could be one. Kikuchi could be one. Realistically, I don't really think Verlander would fit. I mean, a 38-year-old guy from time
39.
39 makes things even worse. Bartolo Colon.
Oh, God.
The one guy that we didn't cover is John Gray because he's a little younger. Other than that, this free agent class, these guys are just crazy. I mean,
shortstops. That's the thing.
I just can't believe how, Greinke's 38 and Verlander's 39, Kershaw's 34, Scherzer's 37. I mean, like, the ages on these guys, like, what kind of contracts you get? If it's a 1-year deal, great. But if we're talking about a 4-year, 5-year deal, like Strowman and Syndergaard are two of the most appealing arms on this market because of their age. I mean, all these other guys are just so old, so injury prone. I love Charlie Moore, but he's going to be 39. Like, the ages on a lot of these guys, I mean, Pax is going to be out the same group as last year. He's got to sign the 1-year deal. Kluber and all these guys, so old, just getting older. It doesn't work long term. So what's crazy is that our in-house guys are probably the best options.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. And again, as I've said many times this stream, a lot of instability in the Mets rotation with the injuries and the impending free agents. So something they will have to navigate, and potentially with a new front office. So we will see how that goes. We have one more thing that we want to cover. Now, we know as Mets fans that we're a little neurotic, a little crazy, sometimes just a little like Hayden, pretty much. But someone took notice of that. A man who has his own radio/TV show, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. And his name is Colin Cowherd. You've probably heard of him. He has a really weird analogy for everything and everyone that somehow sometimes makes sense, but not really. Anyway, Colin Cowherd had some very interesting things to say about Mets Twitter the other day. So I'm going to play you guys the video, and let me know your guys' thoughts on what Cowherd had to say about us.
I think my stuff's probably better, though, but, whatever.
Can you guys hear?
No, we cannot.
How do I do that?
I think you have to share your whole desktop, and then you have to put share audio on. You have to check that bottom left thing.
You guys are asking a lot from an old man here.
Oof.
Another thing about Con is he always loves to say one thing, and then after it happens, no, I didn't say that. Like, he'll say the Browns are not going to win. Then the Browns win. He's like, oh, yeah, I told you the Browns were going to win. Like, he loves to always change his opinion.
All right, let's try this.
Oh, man. Technical difficulties, folks.
Then you don't deserve 3 seconds on Twitter. My entire feed is
I could hear it.
Net media talking about it. Like the Mets. I've never seen a team get more publicity for fewer results in my lifetime. Mets Twitter, it's relentless, and it's like, of course it's ending this way. It always ends this way. I haven't wandered into Mets Twitter. Oh, it's obnoxious. They're just delusional, crazy people. Red Sox, at least, over the last 15 years, have won a lot. So
Sorry, guys.
like, wow, that's kind of shocking because they were good early. Next year, man, how do you get excited for like May and June baseball? Of course you're certain. You know that. So many different interesting corners of Twitter. There are. Mets Twitter, I have not encountered Mets Twitter yet. I'm gonna have to go through my Twitter. Can I follow like 500 people? I'm just gonna get rid of like 30 of them. It's just insane. People tweet like it's bad. Like it's 30 tweets a night on the mat. Listen, when you choose to be dedicated to something, you gotta go all in.
So sorry for the video, but you get the gist of it. I hope you guys could hear it okay. Colin Cowherd really does not like any of us, I guess. So what are your guys' thoughts on Cowherd's thoughts on Mets Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Listen, a lot of Met fans are upset. It's pretty obvious what's going on. I really think social media is the place where people let it out. I mean, the fan base that they can't yell at the players, they can't, yell at Rowan. Yeah. What was that?
What's going on?
Yeah, Tony, I think your mic's messed up right now.
Okay, so pretty much as I was saying, pretty much social media is the place where people could just let it out. Whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, unless you're like 50 years old, I guess. But pretty much the point is,
like Frank.
Yeah, I mean, no one really in my friend group really uses Facebook. The point is, the fact is that social media is where people just let it out. You see us, people on YouTube, they're flipping chairs like I am. They're throwing the bat against the wall. They're throwing baseball cards at their walls, just like me. Social media is the place where they let it out. Should they be, calling someone, xenophobic and racial stuff and, cursing at them? No, that's immature. I mean, you don't really, you don't see me doing that. Maybe the cursing, obviously, but that's really it. Point is, social media is the place to let it out. As long as you're not doing anything hatred towards the player, I don't really see such of a huge fuss against it. But you got to remember, you're on social media. Don't be an idiot what you say, and don't be an idiot what you put online. I know I'm probably the one to talk, but social media is the place where people let it out.
Yeah. I think what it shows is just that Mets fans in general, like, there's no such thing as really a casual Mets fan. Like, you're all in. Mets fans are just like so passionate, and they're passionate to a fault where they get crazy one way or the other way. And Met fans' opinions could change so quick. I mean, when Lindor was hitting home runs like crazy in the spring training, the whole feed was extend Lindor, pay this man, got to keep Lindor. Then as soon as Lindor starts showing the Lindor fraud, waste of money, bad contract, it happens in the snap of a finger. So that part does get a little annoying. And what I will say is the other thing, could we talk about the fact that Carlos Carrasco had to deactivate his Instagram because of what people are saying to him? Yeah. And it's like all the other times this has happened this year where Cohen had deactivated his Twitter and people going at McCann's wife and going at Strowman. And like there have been so many.
Yamamoto too. I mean,
Yamamoto was another one that was really bad. We're like Met fans, like we're passionate, but eventually you got to realize that you don't go at the family. You don't go personally at these guys. You can say, all right, you're struggling. But when you get like racial or anything like that, like, what are you doing? And I've just been so disappointed with how many instances Met fans have continued to just do this to these guys. And you know what? They're human beings. Like, it really, I wish it would stop, but there are just some people that are beyond repair. And I've been really disappointed with how many times I've seen that this year.
Yeah, I mean, with what Colin said, I mean, and I say this in the nicest way possible. Okay, Colin, nobody really ever asked for your opinion ever. I'm going to tell you right now. The network that I'm just like, the network that he works for is just stupid enough to let him express it. I'm going to tell you right now. And this guy has gotten so many things wrong in the past that it actually makes me feel great that he doesn't like our fan base. This guy is just a gaslighting, egotistical numbskull. I mean, who has absolutely no knowledge to be even useful in the entertainment industry, but he still has his show. Again, I say that in the nicest way possible, but yeah, Colin, I really don't care. Cry me a river.
Well, I think I'm back after some technical difficulties. I do not know what you heard. I don't think there was anything weird playing, but it had to do. I was taking my AirPods out. I thought I had to play the audio for Colin Cowherd. But let me just say, in regards to that, if you took a scan of my brain, this side would be blue and this side would be orange, and then there'd probably be a little bit of green in the center for the Jets. I'm a diehard Mets fan. Every one of us are. We're New Yorkers. We're passionate. Northeasterners, we're also passionate about our teams. Now, sometimes it spills over into some really disgusting, terrible things, whether it's in the stadium or on social media, and I'm fully against that kind of stuff. Personally, me, if you look at my Twitter account, you'd think I'm psychotic because one day I say Luis Guillorme sucks. I hate Luis Guillorme. And then the next day I'm like, I always believed in you, Luis. I always did. So, yeah, we're a little nuts. And you know what? If you were a fan of this team for 26, 25, 30, 40, whatever many years, how old you are, you'd be a little psychotic too because they have been such a just ridiculously bad team, losing in the most crazy ways. I've seen every way to lose as a Mets fan. Going to you, Frank, something you mentioned, these guys are human beings. And it hit me the other day because I was flying and I didn't realize it, but like these guys literally get in planes after games and fly across the country to different cities every single week. Think about how annoying it is to fly. I don't know about you guys, but it's such a hassle. Like it struck me like these guys are humans that go through that every week and they have to go on their phone and get death threats or find out their wife or their kids are getting threatened or, you know, abused on social media. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. I hate it. If you want to be crazy like me and just say that Luis Guillorme is good one day and bad the next day, that's fine. But don't go after the players or their family. That's just taking it to the next level. So anyway, guys, great stream by all of you. I think I have some work cut out for me. Not my best one hosting, but I appreciate you guys letting me do it anyway. Gonna let you guys all go ahead and tell us about your channel. Everyone, be sure to subscribe to their channels. The links are in the bio. Let's start off with Mets Fan.
All right, well, I'm Mets fan. I'm the analytical numbers guy. Just recently did a interview with Reckless Airwaves Radio. That was pretty much some of the topics that we actually discussed here tonight. But yeah, also thank you to 5 Points Vids for joining us actually on the kind of a last minute. So shout out to him. Yeah, so let's just win tonight. Why not? Let's win. Let's just win a game.
After all that, we still have to play a game in an hour. After all that,
yeah, we still have to play a game in an hour. Yeah, exactly. 2 hours of venting about this team, just basically going down into a freaking dumpster, and now we got to play a game against the Dodgers of all teams. Oh yeah, just God, stop hurting me. I'm tired of getting hurt. Yeah, let's go Mets. Is
it weird? I feel better about the Mets on the road versus the Dodgers than I do at home. I don't know why. I feel like when the Mets are at home, even though their record's much better, I don't know. They just seem to play tight at home. Whereas on the road, it's like they don't. I don't know. That's just me. But anyway, Frank.
West Coast feeling. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I am back. I made a video this week, just a full-on rant about all things the Mets have done wrong and things that could be changed. And there's more stuff coming now that I am back on the island. I was in Canada, like you guys said about the trip. I was exhausted after that trip, so I can only imagine. I mean, with the terrible scheduling this year, Sunday Night Baseball. Oh, let's go to San Francisco and get there 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning. So thanks MLB for that one. They've just put the Mets behind the 8-hole all year schedule-wise. Cold weather, 2 off days in 1 week, then no off days for 2 weeks. I mean, so this whole schedule, it's been tough to overcome. It's only going to get harder. Like we said, the strength of schedule is not in the Mets' favor compared to the Braves. So that makes for a lot of good content. So check out Frank About Sports and everybody else here and in the description.
Hayden.
Yeah, what's going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Yeah, I want to thank Tony and obviously everyone else and 5 Point Videos for coming on the stream and talking. Obviously, yeah, it was a negative stream. I mean, I'm negative Nancy pretty much. So this was right up my alley. Yeah, but pretty much please feel free to check me out. We just reached 400 subscribers the other day, so that was a nice little milestone there. A round of applause. I appreciate it, everyone. Big support. Yeah, I appreciate it. Pretty basic live streams on series recaps, summaries, news. We go into extra innings. I recap that. We got some interesting reactions to that the last couple weeks. Throwing some chairs and also throwing up from excitement. But yeah, I did upload a video today about Degrom and in regards what I think should be of him. So please feel free to check that out. LFGM and let's try to win this ball game in an hour. It feels weird. I'm in Florida. It's 9:07 and we don't even play for another hour. So try to catch some of that game and hopefully we could see the team that was known in the 12th inning yesterday. LFGM.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I appreciate you guys all joining. I am Tony Metro, as you guys know. Just released a couple of videos this week. My most recent one was ranking the Dodgers Nike City Connect uniforms, which really I did not like very much.
Really?
But not a big fan. Too much blue for me. No contrast. Needed to do like a white belt or something like that. But
Mets just have the best color scheme. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, we all know that. Come on, let's be real.
Yeah.
But I got some more videos coming out. We're going to be talking about the potential luxury tax and salary cap for next season, and as well as one other video of the rules about COVID, if they should stay or which ones should go heading into 2022. So be sure to check that out, and all the rest of the guys that were with me tonight. Appreciate you all tuning in very much. Hoping the Mets get a W, salvage this weekend, and head off back to the East Coast on the right foot. Thank you all for joining. Let's go, Mets.
LFGM.